So hi everyone and welcome to tonight's Yin Yoga session. This evening we're exploring the wood element, my personal, you could call favorite or you could call bugbear, whichever one you like. But it's definitely the element that's particularly challenging for me because of the way that I live my life and my innate traits and characteristics. So I have a lot to share around the meaning and content of this element. So you'll hear direct sharing from my experience tonight. So when we talk about the wood element, we need to remember that we're not talking about wood like the hard old floor, but we're talking about wood within the traditional Chinese medicine system, which is wood like bamboo. So as we know, bamboo has a couple of very cool properties, and one is that it's very flexible and bendable, especially when it's younger, but also is very sturdy and can be used for like building stuff and, you know, construction and scaffolding and all those kind of things. So those two sort of characteristics of wood are what we're going to explore in the practice tonight. So it's not just being like what we might traditionally think of as wood as being solid, fixed, permanent, stable. Yeah, we're looking at something that's functional and something that's flexible. Other things that I want to share about the wood element is the two energy lines that we'll be exploring tonight in the wood element, the liver and the gallbladder. So when I move the camera back, I will demonstrate where those energy lines are on the body. And in Yin Yoga, we want to be looking not for what the shape necessarily looks like, but what the shape feels like. So we want to, I'll give you cues about where to feel sensation in the body. I'll give you the look of the shape as well. But if you don't feel the sensation in the same way that I do, then you need to shift your body to feel the sensation points, because that's one of the things that Yin Yoga is all about. So before we commence tonight, I'm going to read you a very short extract from this book that I've been reading, that I've been continually sharing with you guys, called The Path is Everywhere. I have a short piece to read at the beginning of the class, and I have a long piece to read you, or a longer piece to read you at the end of the class. So my beginning thought for you this evening is this. When you are triggered and emotion is surging, you stand at the precipice of a new world. On one side is the old path of self-aggression, shame, blame, complaining, numbing, denying, and acting out, of disembodying and returning into the storyline of what happened as a way to take you out of the raging sacred data that is alive in your torso. For it is much safer to tell a story about rage, heartbreak, and fear than to descend into the body and into communion with a live, rippling, unknown energy. So we're going to see if we can move beyond this space and see what we can find in the sacred middle, which I will read you at when you're in Shavasana at the end of the class. All right, so I'm just going to pop my camera back so you can see my mat. And so just in the beginning, finding yourself in a comfortable position. So that might be cross-legged, or it might be with your legs out in front of you, or it might be sitting on the edge of the bed. You can tuck that ankle underneath, or you can pop that ankle out the front. Or if you are into sitting into lotus, you can sit in lotus, whatever feels good for you. So once you've found that comfortable position for your lower body, then you want to notice what's happening up here with the upper body, and maybe you want to roll those shoulders up towards the ears and back and down, opening up through the heart center and really dropping those shoulders down away from the ears and having that sense of space between your shoulders and your ears, really dropping down. And then your hands can be anywhere that feel comfortable for you, on the knees, in the lap, palms facing up, palms facing down, does not matter. Noticing whether your spine is feeling nice and long, so feeling the extension from the tailbone up to the crown of the head. And if that all feels good and fine for you, just closing the eyes. Or if that doesn't feel okay for you this evening, you might want to just drop into a soft gaze down towards the earth. And now in this position, start to notice your breath. No need to change or shift or move it in any way. Just notice how your breath is moving in your body. Can you feel the expansion and contraction of your torso? What can you feel around your heart center and your throat? Just notice. We are going to do a couple of movements in sync with the breath this evening. So if you're breathing in and out through the mouth, as long as there's no reason why you can't, just move the breath to be in and out through the nose. And start to lengthen and deepen your breath and feel the expansion of the belly and the chest, and feel the breath right up into the collarbones. And as you exhale, notice if you can exhale collarbones, rib cage, belly. So just noticing, can you inhale belly, rib cage, collarbones? And can you exhale waving in the other direction, collarbones, rib cage, belly? If you can't, it's no issue, right? Just notice. And now, without being too concerned about being at a three-part breath, but just for maintaining a long, deep inhale and exhale, bring your hands up in front of your heart center. And as we inhale, we're going to pop those hands up towards the ceiling. And as we exhale, we're going to open up to the side and come into a twist. So using the back hand to lengthen up through the spine and the front hand to increase the twist. So using the back hand as you inhale, lengthening up through the spine, and the front hand as you exhale to increase the twist. Shoulders right down away from the ears. Using your breath in time with the rhythm of you. Be careful not to throw the head and neck too far behind. This twist is for the torso. The next time you complete your exhale, come back through center, roll those shoulders back and down, and bring those hands up to the heart center again. As you inhale, push those hands up towards the sky, and as you exhale, opening up to the other side, using that back hand to lengthen up through the spine, and the front hand to increase that twist. So we're active in this posture. Inhale, extend. Exhale, twist. Shoulders right down away from the ears. Not throwing the head and neck. Using your breath. Inhale, extend. Exhale, twist. Beautiful. When you complete your next exhale, coming back through center. And we're going to just stretch up through our gallbladder line. We're working with our gallbladder and our liver this evening. So we're going to stretch up through our gallbladder line to start with tonight. So bring one of your hands down to the earth and bring the other hand up and over the head. We want to feel the energy line right from the sit bone, right up through the side body and up into the arm. So for you to feel this, you might need to ground down through that sit bone, and also you might need to lean forward or lean back depending on your body. You might need to bend this elbow. You want to feel sensation all the way down the torso and right down into that sit bone. Through the hip. Notice what you feel. Really reaching out through those fingertips. And feel your breath. As you inhale into those ribs, feel the expansion of that torso. Just connecting with this energy line, really feeling that line of the gallbladder. Nice. When you're ready, gently come back up. Take a moment in center, roll those shoulders back and down. Beautiful. And then ground the other sit bone and bring the hand to the side, and let's reach up and let's feel that line. Sit bone all the way up the torso, whole side body. Noticing on this side if you need to lean forward or lean back. Now I notice on this side for me that it's much harder to feel the energy line on this side, to feel the sensation up the side body. Notice how it is for you. When you found the position, breathe. Feel the expansion of the breath in the torso. Nice. When you're ready, come back through center. Roll those shoulders up and down. Back and down, sorry. And so we've explored a little bit of the energy line of the gallbladder, but I just want to explain to you all the places that this gallbladder line runs. So it starts in the corner of the eyes and runs down, down towards the ears, that's right, and up and over the head a couple of times. And then it comes down over the front of the shoulder and then the whole side body. So it does this zigzag shape down the side body and then comes down the outside of the legs and then comes out at the little toe. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff to activate this whole area of the side body. And then the liver line is coming up from the feet, up the inside of the legs, and then we're coming up and around the belly, and then finishing just here at the rib. Yeah. Like, what is that part of my body called? And the actual liver itself, underneath, just nestled in underneath the right, protected by the bottom of the right ribs there, and gallbladder just on top. Liver, largest organ in the body. Gallbladder, smallest. So this is the energy that we're playing with today. So let's have a big stretch of our gallbladder line, and we want to come into what's called banana asana. So for those of you who have done banana asana before and know how to set yourselves up for banana asana, you can just go ahead and get yourselves ready. For those of you who haven't done it before, here's your instructions. So banana, as in the banana that you eat. So I'm going to be seated at one edge of my mat. So, and then I'm going to lie down. So I'm parallel with one edge of my mat. Then I'm going to move my feet to the opposite corner and my arms up and over my head, and maybe even shimmering my shoulders across a little bit so that I can feel a stretch in the whole side body, all the way up from my toes to my fingertips. And if it feels good for you, you could grab hold of the wrist, try what that feels like, grabbing one or the other, and you could also cross the legs over. Maybe the extended side wants to be crossed over the non-extended side. But it's all about feeling sensation, yeah? So you find your banana asana, what it looks like for you. So the whole back body is connected with the earth, and the side body is feeling a full extension. So once you've found your banana shape, we employ the 3 principles of Yin Yoga. Stillness. So once you've found your shape, coming to stillness, then we allow time. And in Yin Yoga, we want to disengage muscle. So notice where you're holding onto tension or muscle, where it's possible for you to release. Are your eyes closed? If they're not, can they be closed? Can you relax the muscles around the eyes? Can you relax the jaw? Notice what's happening around the throat. Travel down through the heart center and the belly. And then notice your legs, your feet, and anywhere that it's possible for you to release and let go, do exactly that. Notice on that side that's extended whether you can feel your breath expanding into that side rib and really helping to increase that sensation in that gallbladder line. Feel the energy and feel the sensation. And then as you exhale, release. Notice what it's possible for you to let go. Yin Yoga, everything about what it feels like, nothing to do with what it looks like. You want to experience broad, generalized sensations over large areas, surface areas on the body. But if you are experiencing any short, sharp, piercing sensations, this is something to move away from. But if you're feeling those broad, generalized sensations, use your breath to kind of move into those sensations energetically and release what's there. Release whatever it's possible to release. Couple more breaths here. Beautiful. When you're ready, just walking those feet and those arms back to the same side as your hips. Bringing those arms down to the side or placing them on the belly, whatever feels comfortable for you. And just taking a moment to notice any sensation that you might be feeling on one side of your body that might be different from the other side. You're not feeling any difference? Also okay, no big deal. Just notice. Beautiful. Now moving the body to the other edge of the mat. So coming to the other side and moving into your banana asana on the other side. So aligning yourself with the side of the mat, bringing the feet over to the other corner, bringing the shoulders over, bringing the arms overhead if that feels okay for you, and grabbing hold of that wrist or interlacing the fingers, maybe crossing the extended leg over the other leg, noticing wherever it's possible for you to feel fully extended down the side body. Once you've found your position, you want to come to stillness. Relaxing the muscles around the eyes, relaxing the jaw, releasing down through the torso. And feeling your breath. Notice the sensation in that side body. So if you're extended through the right side, notice that that's the space of your liver, right there. Or if you're extended through the left, your liver is compressed on that right side there. So just notice that space of your liver. Situated just above that, your gallbladder. In traditional Chinese medicine, the liver is called the general of the army. It's the seat of the dreaming soul. So the place where our dream or our vision or our intention or our purpose for our life is seated. Right there in the liver space. So as you breathe into that space, notice how it feels, whether it's compressed or expanded. Notice how it feels. Gallbladder, situated just above the liver, smallest organ in the body. Now the gallbladder is according to traditional Chinese medicine, the energy of the gallbladder carries out the vision of the dreaming soul. Now, if you've already had your gallbladder removed, which I have had, it doesn't mean that this energy is not active in your body anymore. It actually probably means that this energy at some stage was overactive. Yeah? And so when our liver and our gallbladder are in line with each other, when our gallbladder energy is carrying out the purpose of our dreaming soul, then our whole energy and our whole life is in union with each other. When we're living a life that is not in sync with our dreaming soul, this is when we can be experiencing troubles with this part of our body, and also maybe having an imbalanced wood element. So this energy, it's all about order, planning, and control, and our relationship with those things. Notice what you feel. When you're ready, just release from your posture and come back to mini shavasana. So just lying flat on your mat. And if you need to bend your knees or drop your bolster in underneath your knees so that your lower back can be a little more connected with the earth, you can do that. And just take a rebound pose. So in between our yin asanas, our yin postures, we like to take a rebound pose just to experience any sensations that might be arising. Now, when we talk about sensations arising in yin, physical sensations, yes. There could also be emotional sensations that arise, or you could also feel the movement of energy. Also, in your rebound pose, you might not feel anything at all. It's also okay. In yin, we learn to train up our mindfulness, which really is just a practice of observation. So in your yin practice tonight, just be an observer. Notice what you feel. All right, from this position, we're going to come up to a seated position. So when you're ready, make your way up to seated. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together and start to activate this liver line. Now that we've got our gallbladder energy moving, let's get into this liver line here on the inside of the legs. So bring the soles of the feet together. When I do a forward fold, I like to sit up on something. So I'm sitting on a rolled up blanket. You can sit directly on the earth if you want. You can sit on your bolster. You can sit on the edge of a cushion if that feels good for you. Yeah. What happens for me if I sit on this blanket is that it just allows me to have a little more extension up through the lower back, so I don't roll the spine. I'm actually hinging a little more from the hip. But it really depends on the rotation of your hips. When we bring the soles of our feet together for this posture, you want to notice the sensation that you're feeling on the inside of the leg. Yeah? So you might feel more sensation if the legs are further away from the body, or you might feel more sensation when the heels are almost touching the groin. So just notice where it feels good for you to feel the most sensation on this liver line. So then we're going to lean forward, but when we come forward in Yin Yoga, remember we're not pulling or pushing or prodding ourselves. We really just want to hinge from these hips and allow the body to come on forward any amount. So make sure that you're not kind of reaching and grabbing forward, but just allowing that torso to come forward. And then when you have come forward the amount that feels like you're reaching your edge, then feel free to drop the chin to the chest and to roll the spine. Now, if you're experiencing any short, sharp, piercing sensations in your lower back, you might like to come up, lengthen that spine a little more, and then just come forward with a nice elongated spine. Making sure that the sensations are broad and generalized, not short, sharp, and piercing. And once you've found your shape, everything about what it feels like, nothing about what it looks like, come to stillness. Close down the eyes if you can. Release tension around the jaw. Release down through the belly. And in this posture in particular, allow gravity to be your friend and bring that body forward. You might also feel some sensation here in the outer hip. Also a fantastic place to feel sensation in this moment. your gallbladder line, running up through those hips and into the torso. So noticing what you're feeling on that liver line and that gallbladder line. Now, wood energy also governs our relationship with anger. Because if we're somebody who likes to be overly planned and controlling, then sometimes what arises when life doesn't turn up in the way that we think it's going to is a bunch of anger. And in most of my life, my anger was something that I suppressed because in my family, anger was associated with pain. So there was, if people were angry, then there was pain inflicted. And so as I grew up, I learned to run away from anger rather than to express anger in a healthy way. So anger will arise for us because we're humans, and it's okay for emotion to arise. And if we have an unbalanced wood element, then it might arise like it did for me as being suppressed, or it could also arise as outward explosions of anger. So it's not anger itself that is wrong or bad, because it is a human emotion. It's the expression of that, either by suppressing it or allowing it to be outwardly aggressive. So having a balanced wood element allows us to express our anger in kind and meaningful and purposeful ways. To be spiritual or to be enlightened or whatever you want to say doesn't mean that you're not going to be angry anymore. It's still going to arise. But if our wood element is balanced, then dealing with that in a way that is good for us and good for others, because, I mean, anger is something that can bring change. So how do we use that? How do we express it? All right, that's a long time in that posture. So just be very gentle with yourself as you bring yourself back up to a seated position. You might like to use your hands to bring those knees back together and drop these legs out in front of you. I'm going to remove my blanket from underneath my sit bones and just leaning back onto the hands, coming into a rebound pose, just releasing back into this position. And maybe allowing those feet to drop out towards the side or drop into the center. And just notice any sensations that you're feeling right now, physical or otherwise. I know I'm feeling tingling sensations down the outside edge of my legs. So my gallbladder line rather than my liver line. But just notice what you feel. Gallbladder line, outside edge of the body, liver line up the inside of the legs. Just notice what you feel. You don't feel anything? Also okay. Can you be with that? Can that also be okay for you? Nice. We're going to get a little bit deeper into this hip now and come into our pigeon pose, or swan as it's called in yin. But tonight we're not going to do a sleeping swan, we're going to do an upright swan. because we also want to feel energy up through the torso because of our gallbladder, right? So to come into your Swan, or your what's traditionally known in Hatha yoga as your pigeon posture. So one leg is straight and the other leg is bent. But remember, when you're positioning this leg at the front, some people might have the heel almost onto the groin, whereas for other people, the foot might be more square, yeah? So what you're looking for is sensation in the outer hip of the bent leg. Now, for those of you who can't manage this posture on the front, no problem. I'm going to provide the modification. Remember, on the back. So for those of you who it's too much on the knee, no problem. I'll come into the other posture in a moment. But for those of you who are in Swan, you could also choose to move your torso around to one side and then the other, noticing where you feel increased sensation in this outer hip. And then once you've found that position, you want to come to stillness there. And this is a more difficult posture to find your stillness in, but notice if you can. Closing down the eyes, relaxing through the torso, and especially releasing through that hip. For those of you who want to do the inverted version, remember we're coming down onto the back, bending the knees, and it might be enough for you just to have that ankle up on the thigh, or if you prefer, you can reach up and grab hold of that thigh or through to the calf, so that you can also feel that sensation in the outer hip. So you choose the position that serves you. Remember, it's all about feeling the sensation. So notice what you feel, especially in that outer right hip. And for those of you who are in Swan, also notice what's happening in the torso. As you inhale, can you feel the inward breath coming down through the torso, expanding that side body, and maybe even, we know we don't have a lung in that hip, but feeling the expansion of energy there, and as you exhale, releasing tension there. So especially as women, we hold a lot of emotion in that hip. So whichever position that you're in, notice what's happening there. Can you allow yourself to feel? How is your relationship with order, planning, and control? Now, when the mind starts to wander, notice whether you can bring yourself back to your breath and to sensation. Notice what you feel. Few more breaths here. Stay with sensation. Nice. Now, before we move to the other side, we'll come into a rebound. So if you're laying on your back, just release down to the earth. If you're in sleeping swan, if you're in swan, just come down onto the belly. So just take a moment, releasing down to the earth. either on the belly or on the back. Notice any sensations that you're feeling, and especially noticing if you're feeling something different from one side of the body to the other. Just notice. Good. Now when you're ready, coming into the position on the other side. So either your swan or your inverted swan, your upside down swan. And just notice on this side, whether or not you want the legs and the foot in the same position or in a different position. Might depend on the rotation of your hips. Might depend on tension on one side or the other. Just notice. And once you've found that position, really in that swan position, opening up through that torso and maybe moving it to one side, maybe crawling around to one side or the other so that you can feel that sensation in that outer hip, gallbladder line. If you're in the inverted position, you might change the position of your foot on your knee. On this side, you might be able to grab the thigh or the calf where you couldn't on the other side. Once you've found your position, coming into stillness. Feeling your breath. Noticing sensation. So this imbalance in the wood element may lead to being overly controlled and controlling of self or others, or even the spaces in which we operate. So this is definitely a tendency of mine, right? To want to have everything organized and controlled and systematic and in place. But here's the thing, right? The organizational principle itself is not bad. You need people like me in the world who know how to get shit done. Otherwise, nothing would ever happen, right? So it's not about judging that, right? It's about that if something goes wrong or something doesn't turn out the way that we want it to, or somebody moves something like that you've put somewhere, like, would that be okay, right? So it's about your relationship with that planning and control element of your life. Would it be okay for it to shift and change and move like that bamboo, rather than being stuck and stayed like the wooden floor? So we're not talking about like giving up being organized or systematic, thank goodness, because I don't know what I'd do if I learned that. But it's about my relationship with that and how I express that in relationship to others, and how I invite others into those spaces where I try to be organized and planned and controlled, to ensure that they aren't spaces that are non-inclusive or places where other people don't feel welcome. So just notice for you whether you have a similar tendency to me or whether the opposite is the same, right? If you're imbalanced in the wood element, it could mean that everything is chaos. Like there's no attention to order, planning, and control. So this could equally be an imbalanced wood element. So just notice what's arising for you in this space. I'm on purpose giving you moments of silence in this challenging posture just so you can notice what arises for you. Take your time. Notice what you feel. Couple more breaths here. Stay with it. Beautiful. Now, when you're ready, release either down to your back if you're in an inverted swan, or onto your belly if you're in a regular swan or an upright swan. Come down onto the belly. Take a moment here. You can make a pillow with your hands if that feels good for you. And if you'd like to just rock those hips back and forwards a little bit, if that would feel nice for you, just releasing a little bit of energy there. Or if it feels better to be still, just be still. The key lesson of the wood element is to look beyond what is done by ourselves and others to what lies inside the soul. The objective is to allow our truth to flow and express and manifest itself without constraint and judgment. This comes from first being willing to accept ourselves and others exactly as we are in all our divine humanness, and acknowledging who we truly are at our essence, regardless of whether our behavior is good or bad, or right or wrong. Connecting to who we all truly are beyond our conditioning and wounded reactive behavior, and choosing to be with ourselves and others, however we are showing up, with conscious presence. Beautiful. Let's come into our next yin posture. We want to give our liver line another bit of love and care. So I'm going to be using my bolster for this next posture. So if you've got your bolster, you can line it up. If you don't have a bolster, you can equally do this posture laying directly onto the earth. So no problem at all. So we're going to come into this position again, where we bring our feet together, but we're going to recline this time. So I'm going to recline onto my bolster. But first I'm going to notice that position where I feel that sensation on that liver line. Then I'm going to pay attention about what's happening here in my lower back, and I'm going to ensure that my pubic bone is tilted towards my navel before I come on down to this bolster. Now I'm going to bring my arms out to the side, because I also want to experience this nice sensation up the side body. And for me, I feel that with my arms out to the side. But for you, you might feel that more if your arms are up and over the head, or if they're down by the side body. So feeling the expression of your wood element here in the side body, also in between the legs. If you're coming down just onto the earth because you haven't got the bolster, you might like to come down laying flat first and then bring the legs up. Your choice. So come into your reclining butterfly, your Baddha in a way that feels good for you. You might want to bring the hands onto the belly also, but notice whether you can feel that wood element up your gallbladder line, as well as that liver line on the inner legs. So once you've found the position, closing down the eyes, relaxing the muscles around the eyes, Relaxing the jaw. And relaxing through the belly. Feel your breath. Feel the expansion of that torso. Notice what's happening in that side body as you inhale. Can you feel it through the side of the ribs? Notice your inhalation. Feel your exhalation. Notice how your relationship is feeling right now with your liver, with your dreaming soul. Notice your relationship with your gallbladder, the energy which carries out the vision of your dreaming soul. In your life, are these things feeling balanced? And no need to come up with some crazy plan to change or do something different or whatever. It's just about, in this moment, noticing. Be careful not to allow the mind to take control here and to start thinking of all the planning that you want to do. Just stay with the sensations. Notice what you feel. At the moment, my dreaming soul is very active, and I'm trying not to get carried away with creating ideas about what I'd like to do. I'm trying to stay with how I'd like to feel. Big challenge for someone like me. Few more breaths here. Beautiful. Those of you who have a bolster behind you, just remove it. And we're going to just do a couple of twists before we come into our Shavasana tonight. So just remove your bolster and then just bring the knees up to the chest, maybe giving yourself a nice big hug. And then bring the arms out to the side. Dropping the knees down to the right side first. So dropping the knees to the right side, leaving both the shoulder blades on the earth, and looking over the left side if that feels good for your head and neck. If it doesn't feel good for your head and neck, you can leave the head in the center, no problem. And even in this position, you want to notice if you can disengage muscle. And then bring all your awareness to your side body. And as you inhale, feel the expansion through the ribs of that side body. And as you exhale, notice if you can release into the twist any amount. Nice. On your next inhale, come back up through center Give yourself a nice big hug. Bring those arms out to the side again. And now let's drop those knees down to the left side. Whoa, nice creaky floorboard in my house. And turn the head to the right, but only if that feels good for your neck. And now notice what you feel on this right side of your body. Liver and gallbladder space. Breathe into that space. Fill it with prana or chi. Clean, fresh energy. Our breath is something that carries our life force. So bring some of that life force, your chi, your prana, into that space. Expand it and then release. When you're ready, come back up through center, maybe hugging those knees to the chest one more time. And then set yourself up for Shavasana. So you might like to cover yourself with a blanket. You might want to pop your bolster underneath your knees so that your lower back is nice and connected with the earth. You might like to bend your knees if you don't have a bolster with you today. But you want to be in a position that feels most comfortable for you. Nothing more to do. Just time to let go. I'm going to read you this passage from this book called Into the Sacred Middle. Falling apart, holding it all together. Then falling apart, then holding it all together again. Cycles of integration and disintegration. Chaos and cohesion. Stillness and activity, sanity and confusion. As flows the natural world, the unfolding of the heart is alive and of all and of the unknown. In ways the mind may not resolve, guidance is pouring through you, washing away that which is less than whole, preparing you for what is next. But what is next is always of the nameless and will never be approached ahead of time by means of the conceptual. Stay close and attune to the creativity as it emerges out of the here and now. While the narrative that you are falling apart is rich and multi-layered, look carefully and see if you were ever together to begin with. You are the vast space in which together and apart dance in union, and you will never be limited to either of these narratives. Rest for a moment and honor the unprecedented nature of what is moving within you. If you remain too identified with falling apart, you cut into the natural aliveness that is the essence of pure immediate experience. You lose contact with the radiance within and become misattuned to the wisdom of your unfolding experience, exactly as it is. You disconnect from the power of embodied presence, from the intelligence of the earth, and from the realization that nothing has ever been wrong with you. You forget that the darkness, when provided sanctuary, is brighter than 1,000 suns. But if you remain too identified with holding it all together, you disconnect from your natural vulnerability and the spontaneous mystery as it appears, turning from the surging reality that your heart could break at any moment. It is true that raw, tender sadness could approach at any time, requesting safe passage inside you. But it is through this broken aliveness that the poetry of your life will flow. Right in the middle of falling apart and holding it together is the secret place. Stay there. It is the greatest, most radical act of kindness to provide the gift of pure rest. This is where the light and dark are in union, where integration and disintegration emerge as one in love, and where lunar and solar weave together particles of the sacred world. Slowly start to move your fingers and your toes. Stretch out the body anywhere that it feels that it might be good for you to stretch out this evening or today. And then when you're ready, rolling over onto that right side. Taking a moment here just to reconnect with your breath. Noticing how your breath is moving in the body. And then when it feels good for you, bringing yourself up to a seated position. Legs can be crossed. You can be sitting on your bolster or on the earth. You're sitting on the edge of the chair or a bed, whatever feels good for you. Just come into a seated position where that spine is nice and long. Crown of the head to the tailbone. Might feel good to roll those shoulders up towards the ears and back and down. Bring the hands up to the heart center. Maybe connecting that thumb with the front of the body. Bowing the head to the heart. Taking a moment here to check in with how you feel. Acknowledging that sometimes the wisdom of the heart is greater than the wisdom of the head. Namaste.